Hey there, it's Shauna. I hope you're doing great. This is your weekly astrology forecast for the week of September 12th. And this week is all about the shift. So there's a lot that's going to be changing and transforming, and a lot that I think will be revealed to you as well this week. So it's definitely going to be interesting. I think that it's going to feel more clear than the last few weeks for you. So I have some tips for you to really get the full momentum out of this week, and some things to watch out for as well. So the biggest thing this week is that we have a lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces on Friday the 15th. And so this full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, it's at 24 degrees Pisces, and it's happening at 12:05 Pacific time. 12:05 p.m. Pacific time. And so this is the second half of this eclipse cycle in September. Eclipses come in pairs typically, and they typically happen about 6 months at a time. So this is the second one. We had the first new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Virgo on September 1st. And so with eclipses, there's always a little bit of push and pull. There's an element of something new and fresh coming in, places, people, experiences, or even just insights. And then there's also an element of old patterns coming up so that they can be shifted in some way. And I use the word shift very intentionally because this is not about releasing and detoxing. This is about changing the way that you look at your patterns. And that's going to become very apparent this week because the lunar eclipse in Pisces it's with the south node. So eclipses always happen because the north and south node, which are destiny points in astrology, they conjunct with a moon cycle. And so this lunar eclipse is associated with the south node, and the south node is related to past life, karma, previous deja vu. It's related to like ingrained behavior patterns. It's the stuff that you do either unconsciously or that it's just like it's an instinct. And so this can get us into trouble sometimes, or it can make life harder than it needs to be. It can also be a wealth of resource for you as well. So the point is, this week there is something that maybe might feel like it's a deja vu thing, or someone or something comes in that feels like it's very familiar. It could even be a behavior pattern that is brought to your awareness, where you're like, oh, like I always do this thing, and is this thing helpful or is it not helpful? So it might be helpful, I don't know. You like, only you know for you. But I would just really pay attention this week to anything that comes up like that, where it feels like deja vu or it feels familiar, and decide what it is that you want to do with this behavior pattern, person, place, thing, whatever it is, because you're meant this week to really work with that energy. And if it's something that is not helpful, I encourage you to think about shifting your relationship to it. So again, I use the word shift very specifically because this is not about releasing and detoxing and just being like, I release this completely. Like, no, that is not the way that life works typically, and that is not the way that the south node works. Because this is related to deeply ingrained patterns. So it's like stuff that is so hardwired into your being, into your soul and your spirit, and even like your physical body sometimes, that you cannot divorce this part of yourself. Nor would you want to, because it can be used for good. But there's a need to constantly shift this thing inside of you. And so again, only you know what it is, but I would just notice what comes up for you this week, especially where you're like, you may feel like, oh, like I always do this thing. I'm noticing that I go into this certain behavior or this certain pattern or this certain mindset when something happens. And then decide what it is that you want to do with that, how you want to change that. Mercury is still retrograde this week. It's going to be going direct next week. So I feel that things will be more clear like crystal clear in the following weeks. This week it's still this element of kind of like, again, looking at how it is that you want to shift things. You may not feel exactly clear. It's still, things may still feel a little bit murky. That's the nature of Mercury retrograde and the eclipses. And so that's okay. Friday on the 15th, on the full moon and lunar eclipse, definitely do some kind of ritual, whether that's like meditation or journaling or running or walking or singing or eating or whatever it is that you want to do. Do something to really focus this energy. Do something to acknowledge what it is that is coming up for you. That could even just be like writing stuff down. So important to do that because it's going to help illuminate things for you more completely, so that in the weeks following you become more clear and you can work with whatever pattern it is that you want to shift your relationship to. So along with all of that, practice a lot of compassion for yourself this week, because Mercury is also making, Mercury and the Sun are making a square to Mars, so that can, Mars is like aggression and it like wants to move, and Mercury is the mind. So there may be like a certain sense of like agitation and unrest and wanting to like figure stuff out. So I want you to know that you are figuring stuff out, and sometimes it just takes like breathing and settling a little bit. So know that things are being worked out in the appropriate time. You're not going to have all the answers this week, and that's okay. So one last thing for this week that's really interesting that I'm curious to see how everyone feels is this weekend may be a little bit interesting. So this weekend we have Venus, which is love, money, beauty, sex, and Mars, which is masculine and drive and ambition, and could also be viewed as sex as well. Those are both in aspect with Uranus, and Uranus is the great awakener and liberation, and it's like surprises, like good surprises. So with Venus opposing Uranus and then Mars trining Uranus, these are what some astrologers would call harmonious aspects. So this weekend is an amazing time to go out and do something totally different, do something social, meet new people. It's a good opportunity to like get out there and try something that you wouldn't normally do, and just connect with people. And maybe whether it's that you meet a person that's really interesting and that you have a connection with, or just that new insights come to you. But there's something in the energy this weekend where it's like there's some kind of like liberation or some type of new insight that can happen. It's like it goes along with this whole shift kind of energy. So that's the whole vibe of this week. So majority of this week, be super compassionate with yourself, pay attention to patterns that come up. And then this weekend, do something fun, do something different. Uranus likes it when you do things totally different. Like if you're not a dancer, go dancing. If you are into music but you don't normally go to like a big music festival or something, like do that. Whatever it is, do something fun and around people. So I am wishing you a wonderful week. I hope you have a super amazing week. Again, remember to be compassionate with yourself, and leave me a comment. If you like this video, share it. I always like to hear what's going on with you guys. That's super fun for me. I love like interacting with you in this way. So sending you lots of love and wishing you an amazing week and an amazing full moon and eclipse. Namaste. Mwah.